Squid Game Season 4 is coming, and this time the games are more savage, cruel, and mind-bending than ever. From brutal new childhood twists to sadistic psychological traps, these are the deadly challenges that could await the next players. Let's break down every horrifying game we might see when Squid Game returns. The first game of Squid Game USA would naturally be a twisted version of Red Light, Green Light, a game every American child knows. But this time, it's not being played on a school playground, it's in a massive, desolate cornfield in the middle of nowhere. The skies are overcast, the wind howls through the stalks, and looming ahead is an eerie-looking mechanical scarecrow standing atop an old red barn. Unlike the Korean version's giant doll, this version reflects something deeply rooted in rural Americana. The scarecrow's stitched smile, glowing red eyes, and jerky movements immediately unsettle the players. Its head swivels with sharp mechanical clunks, and its long straw-filled arms snap into position when it senses movement. Instead of the Korean version's nursery song, the scarecrow plays a distorted version of Ring Around the Rosie through an old-timey gramophone speaker mounted to its chest. When it sings We All Fall Down, it quickly spins its head around. Anyone caught moving after that moment is instantly shot by snipers hidden in the surrounding cornfield, bullets tearing through the stalks before bodies even hit the dirt. The field itself adds another layer of terror. The uneven ground and tangled corn roots make movement unpredictable. Some players trip just trying to walk, while others lose sight of the scarecrow altogether in the tall stalks. Panic spreads quickly as gunshots ring out and screams echo across the field. The scarecrow's creepy Americana aesthetic and the nostalgic but warped music perfectly replace the Korean schoolgirl doll. It's familiar, but just unfamiliar enough to feel wrong. Players are overwhelmed not just by the rules of the game, but by the unnatural silence between the scarecrow's phrases and the uncertainty of when it might turn again. The game is over, but the psychological trauma has just begun. In Squid Game USA, Red Light, Green Light isn't just a game. It's the moment everyone will realize they've stepped into something far worse than they imagined. The second game in Squid Game USA would take the form of a deadly version of a classic playground favorite, Simon Says. Known across the country for generations, this game is simple to learn but surprisingly tricky to master. In its original form, one player takes on the role of Simon and gives commands to the group. The twist: players must only obey commands that begin with Simon Says. If the leader says Simon Says touch your toes, you do it. But if they say touch your toes without the Simon Says and you move, you're out. The whole point is to catch people slipping up. In the Squid Game version, though, a mistake doesn't just mean elimination, it means death. Picture a massive gymnasium designed like a nostalgic American school assembly hall, with colorful banners, wooden floors, and even a giant smiling mascot of Simon towering above. But instead of a cheerful gym teacher calling out commands, the voice of Simon is a booming robotic speaker, cold and emotionless. To up the tension, drones or laser-aimed turrets could monitor player movement, instantly targeting anyone who flinches or follows a false command. To make matters worse, the voice might begin to speak faster and faster, mixing in commands with and without Simon Says, designed specifically to overwhelm and confuse the players. There could also be psychological tricks. Having Simon give increasingly strange or physically difficult commands like hopping on one foot while clapping above your head, or baiting emotional responses like Simon Says cry. Some players might break just from the mental pressure. A song or school bell could be used between rounds, ramping up the tension. The bright lights and cheery decorations contrast harshly with the brutal consequences of failure. As with the original children's game, the last player standing would move on to the next round, but only after watching dozens fall for the simplest of mistakes. In Squid Game USA, even the games you thought you mastered as a kid can become your worst nightmare. The third game would take on a wild and dangerous twist of one of the most imaginative childhood games of all: The Floor is Lava. Nearly every American kid has played it at some point, leaping from couch to chair to table, pretending that the floor is molten lava that will burn you if you touch it. It's all about balance, creativity, and staying off the ground at all costs. In the Squid Game universe, though, imagination becomes terrifyingly real. Players would enter a massive arena styled like a surreal version of a family living room or playground. filled with scattered furniture, rubber gym mats, broken playground equipment, and even large toys or oversized childhood props. However, beneath everything is a glowing, bubbling red floor designed to simulate lava. Whether through heated fog, LED visuals, or actual rising heat, the illusion would be convincing enough to make players feel the danger. But in reality, falling means death, either through hidden drop traps, pressure-triggered explosives, or the floor actually somehow being some kind of boiling liquid that kills and burns players in an instant. The twist? The objects players must jump on aren't stable. Some slowly sink, others tip, creak, or collapse under too much weight. Players would need to move quickly but cautiously, choosing their next step wisely. There might be rotating obstacles, crumbling platforms, or timed sections where paths disappear after a certain period. The challenge could include a timer, pushing players forward through increasingly unstable terrain toward a designated safe zone. To add even more chaos, only a limited number of players can cross safely, meaning that pushing and betrayal are inevitable. Strategic alliances might form, but desperation will shatter them. Visually, the set would be vibrant and cartoonish, almost like a funhouse or old kids' TV show, but twisted into something nightmarish. A fun memory turned into a death trap makes the floor's lava the perfect middle round game. Physically demanding, visually dramatic, and emotionally jarring. In Squid Game USA, even make-believe games can get you killed. The fourth game brings high-intensity team strategy to the forefront, with a deadly twist on the classic American playground game. Capture the Flag. Often played in summer camps and schoolyards, Capture the Flag involves two teams trying to snatch the opposing team's flag while defending their own. It's fast, tactical, and deeply competitive, making it a perfect candidate for a life-or-death reimagining. In the Squid Game version, the arena is vast, possibly a forest-like obstacle course or a post-apocalyptic suburban neighborhood, split cleanly in half between two opposing zones. Each team is given a color-coded uniform and a base containing their flag, which they must protect at all costs. But here's the twist. Each player is outfitted with a shock-activated vest or collar, and being tagged or caught on enemy territory doesn't just send you to jail, it kills you. Players who step into the enemy's zone are vulnerable. If tagged by a defender, their vest triggers a fatal shock or an explosive mechanism, making each infiltration a life-risking move. Conversely, defenders who cross into their own dead zone while chasing someone could also be penalized, forcing players to stick to roles and think carefully. To ramp up the chaos, each team is given only a limited number of lives or safe tags, and once those are used up, tagging results in instant elimination. Surveillance drones or loudspeaker countdowns can track flag attempts, making stealth and teamwork absolutely critical. The flags themselves aren't simple cloth. They're large, heavy, and rigged to a complex locking mechanism, requiring time and teamwork to remove, adding pressure while defenders close in. Betrayals could erupt as players try to sacrifice teammates or break alliances to ensure their own survival. A massive scoreboard looms above the field, tracking time and kills. If no team wins by the end of the countdown, the side with fewer players remaining is executed, adding a brutal urgency to push forward rather than play defensively. This version of Capture the Flag becomes a war zone where speed, tactics, sacrifice, and raw survival instincts determine who walks out alive. The fifth game could be a game that we thought would be in Season 3 but ended up not being. Though in Squid Game USA, it could actually be, and I'm talking about the childhood challenge, monkey bars. While it might sound innocent, in the brutal world of Squid Game, nothing is ever simple or safe. Imagine the monkey bars reimagined as a lethal obstacle where failure means instant elimination. In this deadly version, players would face a towering structure of suspended bars over a massive pit. The goal? To cross from one side to the other using only their hands, with no safety nets below. The bars themselves could be spaced unevenly, forcing players to stretch, leap, and swing at increasingly difficult distances. Each misstep, missed grip, or slip would result in a fall, most likely into a deadly trap or simply to their death below. To ramp up the tension, the game could be timed, with the platform slowly retracting or rising, forcing players to hurry or risk elimination if they linger too long. Imagine the psychological pressure, the player's arms shaking from fatigue, their mind racing against a ticking clock, knowing that one mistake means the end. Adding to the brutality, some bars might be rigged with traps, perhaps electrified or coated with a slippery substance to increase the challenge. Others could suddenly retract or swing away at random intervals, testing not just physical strength, but nerves and adaptability. The arena itself might be themed with iconic American imagery, such as an industrial rooftop or a darkened urban playground, enhancing the atmosphere of desperation and danger. This game would not only test raw physical ability, but also mental resilience. Players might try to sabotage each other or form risky alliances to distract opponents. The combination of physical peril, strategic thinking, and psychological warfare fits perfectly within the Squid Game universe's signature blend of suspense and brutality. Overall, the Monkey Bars game would capture the essence of Squid Game's deadly creativity. Taking a familiar childhood playground challenge and transforming it into a life-or-death battle fits perfectly with the series' dark twist on innocence and survival. If Squid Game USA does indeed feature a game like this, fans can expect nerve-wracking suspense, shocking eliminations, and unforgettable drama. In the last game, it could be a deadly version of musical chairs involving fewer than 8 players in a high-stakes battle where losing means death. Imagine the final around 8 contestants entering a dimly lit arena designed like an old theater or warehouse, with exactly around 7 chairs arranged in a tight circle. The eerie music begins to play, echoing throughout the space, setting a tense and nerve-wracking atmosphere. The stakes have never been higher. When the music stops, the player left without a seat is instantly eliminated in the most brutal way possible. But this isn't just any game of musical chairs. The music's tempo could vary wildly, speeding up and slowing down unpredictably to throw players off balance, forcing lightning-fast decisions under intense pressure. The game becomes a psychological and physical showdown. Alliances may form but will inevitably break, as players know that only one can survive. The desperation to secure a chair might lead to cunning strategies, sudden betrayals, and raw displays of survival instinct. Every move counts. One wrong step could mean losing the chair in your life. The musical chairs game could also involve intense physical fights between players, all desperately battling to secure the limited chairs, turning a simple childhood game into a brutal survival struggle. This deadly twist on a childhood game perfectly encapsulates the dark themes of Squid Game, how innocence is shattered and survival demands cruelty. The final round would not only test the player's reflexes and wit, but also their ability to manipulate and outsmart others when the odds are against them. If musical chairs is indeed the finale in Squid Game USA, fans can expect an intense, suspense-filled climax that blends nostalgia with merciless danger. It would be a heart-pounding conclusion where every second counts and only one player walks away alive,